Isekai isn't overdone. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. What? You're still here? Explanation? Really? What do you think this is? An anime review and commentary channel? Wait, fuck. Alright, hold on tight. Isekai isn't overdone. You either agree with this or disagree with this, but I can almost guarantee that whichever side of the coin you fall on, you're thinking it for all of the wrong reasons. So, in this video, I'll state my case and maybe bring around an epiphany or two. Or maybe you know all of this already and I'm just a hack jumping on a bandwagon 8 years too late. Let's find out. But first, what the hell is an isekai? That's the very first question. There are easily dozens of videos across YouTube that explain it, so I won't go into too much detail just yet. For the purposes of this video, I'll consider it a great shift from the protagonist's normal world and setting, whether that is dying and being reborn into another world, being teleported through a gate, or falling into a well and ending up in a feudal fantasy. So with that laid down, let's really begin. Isekai. While some might consider it a genre of its own, personally I'm not going to go that far. The genre is assigned closer to types of stories such as fantasy, romance, or even shonen. They're an all-encompassing part of the story we're following. Isekai is definitely closer to a trope, something that happens again and again through types of stories, such as friendship power in shonen. Why am I categorizing it like that? It's simple. Once the character moves into another world, they're now faced with the realities of that setting and the genre of the story, whether that's a fantasy world or a dystopian militarized world heading towards its end. The genre of the story is set by the directions of the story and the setting it is built in. Here's an example, everyone's second favorite isekai, Re:Zero, which is, without a doubt, set in a fantasy world, with romance and action as existing themes. Once Subaru is moved between worlds, the genre takes over the trope. With its repeating themes, it naturally comes up throughout the story. It is less omnipresent than the magic or the existence of these fantastical races. And the driving force of the story are Subaru's feelings for Emilia, and in that same vein, his feelings towards his best friend, Ren, that also drive him forward at critical points. Isekai works more like a series of events that occur as a premise in this anime, where it was only Subaru moving into a new world. It does not act as a constantly ongoing theme, such as romance, mystery and action do so, nor does it act as a setting, since it can't do so. It's literally the movement towards an unfamiliar setting. It's a trope, and it's clearer nowhere else than in everyone's third favourite isekai, Re:Zero. Isekai is something we're all familiar with at this point, especially so if we're willing to stretch the definition of it. Or do we even need to do that? If we consider the fact that it's a trope rather than a genre, then it becomes pretty obvious that there is a lot of things that should be considered isekai, even if they are perhaps not what first comes to mind. I'll place my understanding of isekai the trope here, so pay close attention. Isekai at its core is functionally a character or a set of characters finding themselves in an unfamiliar place, with all the trial and tribulations that entails. Isekai is character driven as a trope. The actual truth of whether it is a new world need not apply, but the characters themselves need to feel as if it's an entirely different world that operates under a completely unfamiliar rule set and existence to what they've known until now. That's why discussions such as is Digimon isekai or does time travel to a magical time period count as isekai exist, because it's not so clear cut. The existence of fantastical elements need not be true either, with the devil as a part-timer, where a demon lord is transported to a world that is basically exactly like our own, where he has to operate under commonsensical rules, or Jahi, which is in the exact same position, coming from being a powerful existence in a world filled with magic, but now struggling to pay rent and being stuck in a child's body. But that might not be enough to convince you. In fact, you might be beginning to think that this only adds to the problem. By increasing the goalpost of what counts as isekai, doesn't that just make it more clearly overdone? Well, maybe, but just hang on for a little while longer. It's hard to say it, but a sad truth of the repeating themes that continue to show up is that they're continually paired with other tropes people find unpleasant, such as an overtly overpowered main character whose power level in of itself kills any idea of tension in the story, or other deluge or clearly underdeveloped characters that in of themselves add nothing to the story beyond the paronized hits. There are a variety of reasons why individual isekai feel as if they're simply copy-pastes of an existing story, while cutting out anything that might have made them in any way interesting. Rather than being a disease that's affecting the anime sphere, it might be better to say that isekai is part and parcel of an overall disease of massified, oversimplified stories. which only exists in order to have something to air that season. A new light novel with basic beats which a bunch of hairy guys in suits think work because clearly Mushoku Tensei did the same, but they missed the point that a series is made great by its plot and characters, not simply by shoving them in a new world where they're surrounded by tits and have a lot of power. Well, obvious parts aside, this isn't only a problem within the Isekai, but for a great number of anime. It just so happens that when a buzz started around this trope, a lot of the worst aspects became conflated into a rather ugly package of boring one-note protagonists and a mind-numbingly dumb flood of shows coming out each and every season, leading to everyone getting just tired of all this shit that's coming out. So, why is that? Why are all of these tropes, which are almost always considered to be negative, being conflated into the single trope that might well have defined the anime of the 2010s? Well, just follow me along for this small narrative and I hope at least gives you a small picture of why. The year is 2006. You're still in high school, hoping it's better than your middle school experience was. A brand new school with brand new friends. Still, anxiety sits like a rock in your stomach, making it difficult to attend your first day of school. You wake up, you get ready and sit at the dinner table with your mother. Your father's busy doing another all-nighter at the office. The conversation is casual. You smile as you try to wave off your mother's concerns. Still, breakfast finishes before you know it. You put on your shoes and you leave your home. The walk to school was a short one, yet you almost took the right-hand path that led to your old school, instead of the straight path that leads to your new one. It was huge, far bigger than what you were used to, multiple stories. The number of students was massive, and it was just difficult to walk through the doors as you tried to avoid the crowds of people talking amongst themselves. There were other first years, just like yourself, looking for their lockers to place their shoes in, to switch them around with their indoor shoes, and yet none of you talked to each other. Perhaps it was the same fear as before. Rejection was something that none of you wanted to face, and so you walked to your classroom. First years were on the first floor, so you made your way there. A voice peeks behind you, almost familiar in its tenor, forcing you to turn around. A smiling face lit up the hallway, facing you directly as the person came running at you. A mirrored smile was on your face, and yet the steps did not stop in front of you. They raced past you, not even a look spared in your direction. Now you sit in your class, the previous interaction not quite forgotten, unable to quite let it fade from your head. The embarrassment which clogged your throat did not allow you to join the myriad of conversations that went on. Yet it came to a stop when the teacher walked in. There went your chance to introduce yourself. Other chances would come, you tell yourself. It was only a single moment, and yet that moment became a whole day. That whole day became a month became months, and soon you graduated, ready to go on to university. A handful of friends. Each of your days at high school was spent waiting to go home to talk to your actual friends through your computer. Still, it could be different this time. The stone in your stomach had only gotten heavy over time. You begin your first year of university soon. The year is now 2010. You wake up and look into the mirror. You'd grown a lot. On the outside you felt different to the start of your high school debut, but on the inside you felt as if you had only taken steps backwards. You get ready regardless. You have a long train journey ahead of you. Living in a home on your own for the first time is never easy. Still, a suitcase in hand, you make your way to the kitchen, where your mother greets you joyfully. You look at the family shrine and give your father his own greeting in return. It was a short breakfast. There was little to talk about even in your own home, even on the day of you moving out. Not that you had much in common anyway. You give your goodbyes and promise not to do anything crazy before you head off for one of the biggest steps in your life. Business was not a difficult subject, but a part of you hoped you would not be in the same industry and meet the same end as your father. Thoughts of giving a good introductions were long gone from your head. You knew yourself better than that now. All you had to do was get your laptop set up and make sure to tell your friends about your day's difficulties. Look over the newest anime, and so you walk through the train station. Various signs floated above your head, maps set up on the wall with a rainbow labyrinth of different lines. Calls for various trains echoed in the grail hall of modern commuting. Yours was not one of them. Another 10 minutes were left for you. So you walked into the nearby bookstore. Your eyes scanned the various titles, most of which you had read, some of which you had regretted leaving behind at home. But there was one that had caught your eye, a singular girl sitting upon a stool, thigh-high, strawberry blonde hair which bordered on being overtly pink, and of rather strong poise. Zero no Skyman read the red and blue words on the side. You picked it up. Your expectations were low, but even so you had something to waste a little of your journey. Little did you know that would take you away to another world. A normal guy with a rather great love of his computer. A person who was similar to yourself, who did not have friends, who would worry about his disappearance. You seemed to have no reasons to return in the first place. A world where things seemed to be tough for him, just like they were for yourself. You grow immersed in it, seeing more and more of yourself in the character, and yet being able to admire the things they could do which you could only dream of, speaking words which you are thinking, and achieving the things you've always wanted to do. From nothing they had acquired friends, repute, and even someone who they loved and whom they loved back. Between classes, at the end of the day, during your journey, reading this made your days go by just a little easier, and once you were done, a hollow pit opened up again. You could once more feel that rock in your stomach, sitting as snug as ever. Yet a thought crossed your brain as you looked into your laptop. Manuscripts of abandoned stories sat there. The memories of what you had read echoed in your mind, the feelings they elicited, and you wondered if you could create the same kind of feelings again. So you poured those feelings into page after page, and even more than that, the feelings which you weren't able to express, the taste you had, the power you wish you held, and even more fell upon the pages like a dam broken. You had made something that was you, truly you, despite the feelings you held, and yet within it was the doubt that this might just have been running away, yet you submitted it, hoping that it would be accepted and would pass on the very same feeling to others. With the end of that narrative, which I'm surprised you stuck with by the way, I feel as if you can see why something like this had spread so widely. From a story that included more than just a few simple beats, it could be any isekai, like not just Familiar Zero. But going from reading a story which you truly love and wanting to recreate something similar, not just for yourself, but someone else too, because there had to be others who felt the exact same way you did. The issue perhaps with isekai might be wish fulfillment, a cute one that can lead to the loss of something where the feelings of the writer might well have overcome the needs of their story. It's not an evil thing. Many of us have most likely put our feelings first at one point, and it's even a place where we can't put ourselves in given some effort, like in that narrative just then. So, if there's still an influx of wish fulfillment isekai, there must still be an influx of wishes ungranted. So with that I'll say this, while wish fulfillment is overdone, isekai is not. It's not overdone, it's just trash.